Yes, welcome back to the Magic Sponge podcast, a miracle cure for all your rugby league injury issues. I'm Brien. I'm the guy behind all the NRL Physio content you see on socials. My co-host, James, you're a physio. You're a big Broncos nuffy. You are here, mate. It's been a couple of good weeks for the Bronx, a couple of bad weeks for the Finns. I think we're falling in a heap at the moment, mate. But the Bronx are hot. Maybe they don't need Reynolds and Mann, mate.
I don't know. There's a bit of hotness about the squad, isn't there, Brian? But wouldn't say it's overly convincing. Like I wanna pump us up for putting up points. And look, Tony Staggs looks like he's just found another level. Reece Walters looks like he's found another level. But the wider lens out looks like it's a little bit uninspiring. This team, they're sitting fifth somehow. I don't think they're the fifth best team in the comp this year, but it just goes to show this is a pretty tight race as it heats up into the top 8. The Dolphins are still in touch, Brian. I don't know where there's a pulse, there's a chance, and I think, while you're only one win away, the for and against compared to the Roosters is actually still better. You're telling me there's still hope is what I'm sort of getting at with the Finns at the moment, mate. Do you dare to dream? Do you dare to think you'll scrape into the 8th position?
I'm the meme of like the dog sitting in the house on fire saying this is fine at the moment.
Yeah.
That's kind of where
Yeah.
I'm at with the Finns. Look, it's one of those things for me where I'm just like, and I think we've kind of said it, and the Bronx looked a little bit better in the last few weeks, but I think, yeah, if we make finals, it's kind of like a token finals, right? Like it's nice to make your first finals, but I don't think we'll be challenging the scorers at this point in time, unfortunately. Herbie back would be big, but I just think, forwards, we've spoken about it enough. So I'm still really positive, actually, getting along with the fam. My father-in-law works at Suncorp in the hospitalities and all that kind of stuff, and we're getting along for a special game, Finns Titans this weekend, and do a bit of stuff for the girls, which will be fun. So last day game of the year, which will be good. So we'll get along to that, and hopefully skipping the last two Finns performances, we can go and actually watch a Finns performance where they do okay against the Titans. Fingers crossed. So we'll see how we go, mate. Had a good time on the Baller live stream this week. They had like the mega stream. They had the guy who was coming first actually on the stream, and interesting, mate. I think you'll like this shithousery. So he's coming first, and I kind of said to the boys, I anchored it. I was at the end of the show, and I said, "Oh, what's he doing with his captain, vice captain? Or how many trades does he have left?" I think he said, and they said he has gone like completely dark, has removed himself from every head-to-head league he was in, like, so no one
Really?
can kind of see his moves week
Oh,
in and
that's
week out.
hectic.
I'm like, oh man, because he was like third. I think he was coming third in the run home challenge, and he's removed himself from the run home challenge to try.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
like, that is intense. I wouldn't even. There's no way I would think to do that. I would
no,
just be like
neither.
shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
Oh man, so it's intense up the top, mate. But yeah, if you're looking for a good accompaniment to your Thursday or Friday night, depending on where they do it, the Baller live streams do go off, and they have some good SuperCoach chat. So it's good to just sort of follow along if you're sitting at home on your own. The missus doesn't want to know you. You can sit there and watch the game with the boys, which is good fun. So yeah, guys, as always, we're on YouTube everywhere you get your podcasts. So check us out there. We loop all the injury info back to SuperCoach and Fantasy. Last 2 weeks, all your head-to-head finals coming up. Hopefully, heaps of head-to-head finals. So yeah, tune in and we'll help you hopefully win those comps, and maybe we'll help Finn win the 50K, hopefully. But otherwise, let's get into the injury wrap for this week, which is brought to you by Pain Pod, drug-free pain relief anyone can use.
I don't know exactly what he's done. I would have thought it was an ankle, but I'm just guessing.
He shouldn't be out for a long period of time. I mean, I'm no doctor. We have to wait for the scans, obviously, but that'd be more positive than negative.
Round 25, Brian, not a mega week this week, but we'll kick off with the HIA. So Sammy Walker, who was a popular trade in this week, was a HIA. And then also Tui Kamikamica from down at the Storm as well, Brian. Updates on these two gents as it stands here?
Yeah, mate, I think Sam Walker's probably the big one. He was one of the more traded in guys this week, as I believe, and big friend of the show, or we're big fans of him here. Yeah, it looked pretty bad, I think. I did mention in my post, which was just worth mentioning, is that how teams challenge these category ones, and we've seen it several times now, is they kind of say, there was no symptoms or it's been overdiagnosed or it's been confused to something else. So they have done that with Sam Walker in the past. He copped a blow, what they said was a burner, but was deemed and kind of put his arm down and then lost his balance after putting his arm down. And they kind of said, the independent doctor thought that was a concussion stumble, but it was a burner stumble. And that's how they kind of got away with it or got around it. And then, like other teams have sort of said, oh, no, that wasn't, that they weren't concussion symptoms at all, because pretty much as soon as you get around that category 1 determinant, then you're kind of looking at the actual testing in the sheds. And if then the team goes, oh, well, they passed all the testing in the sheds and that stumble that you saw wasn't actually to do with a head injury, which I find crazy that it's able to be challenged. But anyway, so that's how they could get around it. But I just think this was pretty obviously a head injury, a concussion. So I don't see them doing it. It was just more, I know a few people said this and messaged me saying there's no way you think he can get off that. I wasn't saying that I think he can get off it. I was just saying that Sam Walker is a player who has challenged in the past. So it was one of those weird coincidences. But yeah, I think he will more than likely miss next week, and Tui probably the same.
Yeah, well done, Brian. It's a good summary. First game of the round, Brian, was Bunnies versus Dragons. We don't have a bunny on the list tonight, Brian. That's probably the first time in the last 25 weeks this year, and probably the last 27 weeks in 2024 as well. So here's to the Bunnies getting it right come the end of season there. So that's good news for them as they get into they've only got one more game left. They've got the bye coming in this week. Panthers versus Raiders was the next game, and holy dooly, what a heck of a game. What a golden point thriller. Vossi on the call, hook it to my veins. I was absolutely soaked for that, Brian. But for the Raiders, Xavier Savage was an AC joint injury here. Probably looks in that sort of moderate to high grade as well. He was pretty crook with this, wasn't he?
Mate, I like the Finns have gone over 50 many times this year, and I've been up and about, but this is the most soaked I've been in a footy moment this year. And to be fair, there's been some cracking finishes. That one for the Wars a couple of weeks ago, Halasima was epic. Harry Grant doing his thing was epic.
Raiders in Magic Round was unbelievable. Kale Weeks chip and chasing. That was so good.
So there's
Last
been
game
so
of the
many
round.
good, but this is this was just insane. And as you say, I know Vossi for whatever reason has his detractors, which I don't get these days, but he is just, for those moments, he is by far and away just light years ahead of anyone else. It's so good. Although in saying that, I will shout out to Warren Smith, the Take Me Now, I've seen it all. That's still one of the all-time greats. So, but Xavier Savage, it looked really nasty. He battled out till halftime, but it just wasn't good. So, you're looking at a moderate to high grade, I think. I would be shocked if it comes back as minor, like a minor sprain. So, usually 2 to 4 week return to play. The biggest concern with these is they are mostly pain management issues. So, they get needled up, they return with padding, those kind of things. But it's just the risk of aggravation. He cops another knock to that shoulder, it'll really hurt him. So I think we've spoken about it in the past where, say he cops a knock to that shoulder and in normal circumstances, it'd be 2 out of 10 pain. He'd probably keep going, but with an AC joint like this, he cops that same knock to the shoulder. Instead of being 2 out of 10, it's all of a sudden 6, 7, 8 out of 10 pain. So it significantly affects you. You can't lift your arm, those kind of things. So, but we've seen guys, especially when finals are coming around. We've had this last year, I believe it was, I might get my years wrong here, but there was Kalen Ponga and Tommy Turbo have both had it, 2 weeks before finals, really, really nasty AC joint injuries, and they returned for first week of finals. So Xavier Savage probably not as vital to his team's performance as, say, a Turbo or a Kalen Ponga, but I think by week 1 of finals, he'll be available. It'll more just be he'll be in an increased risk of aggravation moving forward.
May just be a little one for the drafters. Xavier Savage might be pretty close as well. I think he was penciled in for about round 26, Brian, from memory, so I don't know if he's close or not,
Yeah, he
but
is.
he would
Yeah,
be
he's right thereabouts, apparently.
yeah, so that'd be one just to keep an eye on. I think, you know what you get with Xavier Savage. He's been unreal this year before he got injured. Next game was Storm versus Bulldogs, Brian. So names on the list here tonight. Will Warbrick, one we've had heaps of questions about on the Magic Sponge. He had a return successfully to Queensland Cup on the weekend and looked bloody good as well, just for those playing along at home. Had absolute jets on the right wing there for the Honey Toast Falcons. And then secondly, Harry Hayes from the Bulldogs here with a knee concern, Brian. I don't know too much more about the update there for Harry.
Yeah, mate, I was on the stream for this one, so I didn't get to view it much live. And then just as I was about to go and have a closer look at it, I think the post-match, Cameron Ciraldo said he's fine. So there was announced as a meniscus concern on the night. It looked like knee into ground, kind of jammed up the knee, so PCL meniscus. But apparently, according to Ciraldo, he's all good, so minimal concerns there. And then, yeah, mate, just shout out Will Warbrick. He's had 4 or 5 months out of the game, ongoing recurring concussion symptoms. It's just really tough. Like, we've seen guys like Paps and, Ryan Madison and these kind of guys talk about these ongoing concussion symptoms in the past. And it can be really debilitating, not only physically, but like mental health wise as well. So just so good to see him back out there and looking fantastic, mate. Like that's no hesitation. I went and watched some highlights, and even outside of that try, he just looked good in the contact. A really, really good piece for the Storm to get back, going into finals. I think that's huge for them. And yeah, I like the only thing worth mentioning there is he's just a bit like Savage we were talking about before. Just the fact that he's had that recent concussion and tough return, he is at an increased risk of where, a knock that wouldn't usually cause concussion symptoms he'll have a lower threshold more than likely over the rest of the season, particularly.
Yeah, nice one. Next one was Manly versus the Dolphins, Brian. So Tommy Talau on the list tonight with a leg concern. Not many other things to touch on in that game.
Mate, the great Tommy Talau, a darling of yours from 2024. It looked like cramps. He kind of came out of a tackle and he did grab at his knee, but there was no real mechanism that I could see. And James, you'll be proud of me here. I looked really closely at this video, and it looked like those beautiful calves that Tommy Talau has on his legs. The one on the left was like very defined and quite bulging out. So I was looking at Tommy Talau's bulging calves before we came on this show, mate. So that was about the most excited I got watching anything from that game, because it wasn't a good one for the Finns. But if you want to treat yourself, mate, go back. I'll send you the video. I recorded it of Tommy Talau's bulging calves.
Nice one. Bit of calf stuff into my feed there would be good. Titans versus Warriors next, Brian. So Taine Tuaupiki's been, I guess, identified as a knee injury at a New South Wales Cup. Difficult footage of that one to make any sort of diagnosis based on what we've seen. And the other ones on the list here with 2 shoulder concerns is Beau Fermor from the Titans and Rocco Berry from the Warriors there. Rocco Berry's been on this list quite frequently in the last couple of years, Brian, hasn't he, for the Wars?
Yeah, it was pretty concerning for Rocco right at full time there. Unfortunately, they didn't really show a replay, and the video wasn't fantastic of the incident. So I was waiting for a replay, but full time, so they kind of don't really go back to it, unfortunately. The one concern here with Rocco, it did apparently look like a shoulder issue, and he's had that. I don't know if you remember, he had that like Tommy Flegler style, like burner nerve injury.
Brachial plexus, yeah.
That ended his season, I think it was last year. So he had several weeks out with that. So the one thing I will say is that post-match, I hung around and watched all the post-match footage, and he was getting around the other team, shaking hands, looked completely fine. So I didn't glean much from the mechanism, so I'm not really sure. But he seemed to be fine post-match. So whether it was a burner, whether it was a concussion, something like that. We'll wait and see. But he did look fine, which, you know, for something like a knee, probably not that big a deal. But for something like a burner or potentially a concussion, it's good that, you know, he was like he wasn't trying, well, mainly a burner, that he wasn't still experiencing like that nerve stuff down his arm, and he could get around the boys and kind of be okay so quickly afterwards. And then Beau Fermor, mate, this was your try scorer's mechanism when he was scoring that try, landing on the outstretched arm. Seemed to really, really be quite painful in the short term, but played out the rest of the game. So, yeah, probably a minor sublux there. Main thing is just over the next couple of weeks might be an increased risk of aggravating it, but nothing too major, I would hope. And then, yeah, as you said, Taine Tuaupiki, I had a lot of questions about this one. There's only one camera angle. It's not the best one for the left knee, which is the one that we're interested in. I actually initially, when I saw it, because apparently the Wiremu Greg, who performed the tackle, he got sent off for a hip drop, and it wasn't much of a hip drop, but if anything, he kind of went on to the right knee, and the right knee is not the one that Taine Tuaupiki got strapped up and came off with. It was the left one. So look, the only thing I could see was like a PCL style mechanism where his flex knee went into the ground as he was going to the ground. So once again, nothing to do with the hip drop tackle, just him coming to the ground. So potentially a PCL injury. I had a few people message me and say they think it's an ACL. I didn't see an ACL mechanism there. The only other thing was very, very briefly, Wiremu Greg's knee as it was sliding along the ground kind of caught his lower leg. But if anything, it kind of looked like an LCL kind of pushing it to the outside. So, yeah, I didn't see anything major ACL, maybe PCL. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. But I like... You've just heard me waffle on backwards and forwards, people asking why I haven't posted on it yet. Because, like, yeah, I don't want to put all that word vomit that I just said into a post. I don't feel like that really provides much value. So, yeah, we'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah, watch and wait on that one. So Eels versus Roosters was next. Brien, bit of a boil over in this game, but we've already mentioned Sam Walker. That was the only one out of this game that was relevant. Knights versus Broncos was next on the list, and Greg Marzhew was ruled out pre-game with a back concern. What are we looking at here for Greggy Marzhew? He did play last week, didn't he? That's right. He was named last week.
Yeah, so he was a laid out. Yeah, classic Knights, giving us not much. Just worth mentioning with Marzhew, he had that neck bulging disc issue that he missed a game or two with I think it was about a month back or a couple of months back. So when they say back, I'm assuming lower back, but potentially they, are just, your neck's still part of your back. So, yeah, I will wait and hear on that one as well, unfortunately.
Righto, that's the update for that one. And last game of the round was the Tigers versus Cowboys. They always put a good old game together, these two teams, for whatever reason. Starford To'a on the list here with a shoulder injury. He was ruled out pre-game. And then, I guess, friend of the show, Adam Doueihi, with the facial fracture there, Brien. Bad news for, I think he was the most traded in play this week as well.
Mate, smart super coaches were trading him in. Yeah, not like I know Doueihi gets a bit of a bad rap for being injury prone and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, Jason Taumalolo's knee to your face. I don't think many people are going to blame his, him having brittle bones or something like that for copping that one. So yeah, I mean, off to hospital. Like we all could see it, right? Like I'm always very hesitant. As always, to be too definitive off video footage, but you could see the deformity there, the divots in his face, like it looked really nasty. So I think the indication from Benji post match is that yeah, it's not looking good for the rest of his season. They obviously got knocked out of finals contention this afternoon as well. Which was a bit of a shame for the Tigers. But what I've heard is that it looks really nasty. It's probably going to be at least 8 weeks surgery in 8 weeks. So when I sort of said like 1 to 2 months, if you have like a small crack in the eye socket in the right spot, like we've seen Keon came back the next week after something. And so when people are like, oh, what do you mean the location? We all know the location is in the face, but there's so many different bones in the face. And there's so many different locations on those bones that mean different things. And so that's why I kind of have that wider range, is because sometimes facial fracture you can come back from really quick. But when you have complex fractures, which this sounds like it's going to be, and by complex, multiple fracture sites in different structures, yeah, you're going to need pretty extensive surgery, and it's going to more than likely be like that 8 to 10 week kind of range. I think Chrissy Lawrence was probably the worst one we've seen in our time, James. There was that one, Chris Lawrence, and then I think Josh Mansour had a pretty bad one as
Yeah,
well.
Josh Mansour had a really bad one. Yeah, I remember
from
that.
memory. Yeah, and they were like 10 weeks out. So that's kind of worst case scenario. So, yeah, hopefully it's not that for Doueihi. But I don't think Lebanon – have Lebanon got any postseason tests? I don't think they do. So
I'm not
I think
sure.
it's just
Don't know.
Pacific. So, yeah, so he'll be fine for next year. And, mate, if it's looking like he's going to have that 7 jersey at the start of next year, I might just pick him in the first round come draft time, baby.
2026. We're just too early this year, Brian. We've got to get back on there for next year. Good rap of the NRL.
Actually,
there, Brian.
can I ask you?
Go. Yeah, sorry.
I want to ask you before we get too far into it.
Yeah.
Where do I sit on my preseason? I'm handing this completely over to you. My preseason pick of Adam Doueihi. Like Tommy Talau, I feel like was great last year. Like, we're never going to get to Jermaine Asako levels, right? Because Jermaine was that Simon's pick. But like Tommy Talau was good. Like, he got to a really good price, but then dipped away towards the end of the season. So I'm trying to get in with this late charge from Doueihi. Do I at least kind of get a passing grade for the
I think it's a pass grade. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, like, you look at what he's pumped out in the last few weeks, like, it's just hard that it's happened so late in the year that you would have had him at the start and moved him on. You just don't get to enjoy the fruits of your labor there, Brian.
Unless you
and
drafted
the
him,
faith that you had.
James. Unless
you drafted him, then you might have had him all year. But I don't know. I didn't have him in any of my setups. Did you have him in any draft setups?
Yeah, I think I had him in 2 of 6. So, and unfortunately, in both of those, I was out. So maybe that was part of why. But
I know. Well, the only 2 draft comps I was in, I got bounced out in week 1, so I was pretty spewing about that. So it's been a bit grim on the old draft front this year. NRLW, Brian. So we'll wrap NRL. We'll go NRLW. So a few names on the list tonight. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the list. Mackenzie Wiki was a rib concern here. Sarina Masaga was a leg injury here. Lucyannah Luamanu-Leiataua was a leg concern. Tyla King was a concussion. Tenika Willison was a leg injury. And then Jamie Chapman was an ankle injury. Seen some stuff floating around on socials of Jamie Chapman in a hospital bed with a moon boot on there. Probably thinking high ankle or tightrope, or maybe something more significant, Brian. What are we dealing with for Jamie Chapman?
Yeah, no, the Cindy from a couple of weeks ago that they kind of said, she'll miss at least 3 to 4 weeks. I think that's probably one of those ones where they looked at it, went, maybe we could rehab this. But as we've spoken about, like the tightrope surgery these days is just so good and so predictable that even those, I think people who are listening might know, like grade 1, 2, 3, very simply. And syndesmosis's injuries are a little bit more complex than that with the different structures. But if we try and simplify it, grade 1, a sprain or a stretch of the ligaments. Grade 2, partial tear. Grade 3, complete tear. So grade 3, usually you're looking at tightrope surgery. Grade 2, sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on the instability and stuff there. I just think a lot more grade 2s are starting to become, tightrope surgery at times because of the success that we're seeing with this surgery type. So maybe it's one of those there. But yeah, I think they've said they've left it open for her to be back for the grand final, mate. So up the tights.
Are they in the running? I don't think they're in the running, are they?
As I was saying that, I'll keep talking about these other ones, and if you could look up where they are on the ladder. Tenika Willison.
I don't know about that. Anyway.
Yeah, Tenika Willison was a late rule out for the Knights. No detail there. Lucyannah Luamanu-Leiataua, that was a nasty one as China Plata, and shout out China Plata and Jada Taylor, both playing their first NRLW games back after ACL layoffs.
Of course,
this weekend, which was good to see. China got a good try as she was scoring. That try rolled up on Luciana's leg, looked like a lateral ankle sprain. So hopefully nothing too nasty, but it was like a contact mechanism. So potentially concerned for a fracture there. And then, yeah, that was about it really. But yeah, hopefully big Titans guy in as it comes to NRLW. So hopefully Chapo can come back and help them win the grand final. Just manifest.
Yeah,
like
well, they're paying $61 at the moment, Brian. So if you believe, put your money where your mouth is all I'll say to that. So get on board the Titans girls if you think they're going to come from the clouds. Good wrap up of all the injuries, Brian. We'll go to the questions submitted through the broadcast channel. Thank you again for everyone getting these through to us tonight. Not too many spicy ones tonight. I want to see a few more weird ones in the weeks to come up because we're getting close to the end of the year. First one is about James Graham might have mentioned something about Cam McInnes needing more surgery. I don't know if there was much background on this or if there's any insight you can share about if Cam had surgery previously and if he needs more surgery from an ACL perspective. What are we dealing with here, Brian? I'm not too sure of the status.
Yeah, I got a few questions on this, and I think the wording kind of confused me. So I went and listened to the recording of the show today because he was on Triple M, James Graham. So effectively, what he said was he was messaging Cam McInnes this week about his ACL, and then Cam was asking James Graham about an injury that James Graham had played with and gotten surgery for in James's career. Now, I went back and had a look. The only surgery I can find for James Graham was a neck injury that was causing referred symptoms down into the arm that James Graham got minor surgery on and missed 4 weeks. So I'm thinking like a minor, clean out discectomy, that kind of thing of a nerve root irritation or something like that. And James Graham effectively said that Cam McInnes has been playing through that for many months this season. So he didn't say that it was neck. He said he didn't want to, reveal Cam's, private medical information, but said Cam has been playing through an issue that James Graham tried to play through, lasted 1 week, he said, and then he was like, no, I need surgery. So Cam McInnes has been playing through that for months, then got his ACL injury. So he's getting the ACL surgery and he's also getting surgery to fix up this other issue. So I'm thinking potentially it's that neck kind of issue. So yeah, just more fuel on the fire of Cam McInnes being an absolute animal, mate. Just what a weapon. And I love him. And I completely agree. I think the other thing they said is like, he'll be probably 33, I think, by the time that like Perth come in. But in terms of like a full, for us, like a Felice Kafusi, like Jesse Bromwich kind of signing, give me Cam McInnes as the starting 13 for the Bears in their inaugural season. Because you're just not going to get any kind of better, cultural set, I think.
Yeah, totally agree with that. That'd be a shitty rehab to have an ACL and a micro discectomy from a neck point of view. But if anyone was not going to complain at all about it, would be Cam McInnes, who's quickly approaching, just alpha territory, like closer and closer it goes. Second question, Brian, is there any way to prevent ACL injuries in the knee?
We've got some really good evidence around this as physio or medical community in terms of prehab kind of training programs. So mainly around like jumping, landing, changing direction, just practicing those movements on a regular basis, like a weekly, bi-weekly thing. So I think FIFA has a really good program. There's a lot of really good programs out there that just focus on repeating those movements over and over and over again, really sports specific to make sure, because when we see ACL injuries happen, it's during those change of direction, jumping, landing, that's 70% of ACL injuries. So it's something that I think previously and even now, it's just not something that's practiced all that much. So particularly in female sport, because there is an increased risk of injury in female sports, we're seeing it implemented more and more, which is just fantastic. But yeah, it's mainly around training programs and kind of prehab kind of stuff before you have those issues to try and, I guess, train the knee in those circumstances to be nice and stable and get your body used to those kind of things. So, yeah, mate, have I missed anything? I think that's probably the main one.
It's racking my brain. Like, the only thing I think for people playing along, if you're not super aware of what an ACL's function is, like, it's got a really, like, when you look at the research on it, really big proprioceptive function. So I guess when you're sort of looking at training things there, like, if you can, stress it proprioceptively with dynamic change of direction stuff repeatedly, that is helpful from a preventive perspective. It doesn't always guarantee you're going to prevent things, but it does give you, the best shot to do so. So that would be an add on there, Brian, from a proprioceptive point of view. Third question is about any updates on Carter Gordon and his possible return to the Titans there. It's been a bumpy old ride for Carter Gordon since coming across from rugby union, hasn't it?
Yeah, mate, he's played the last 2 weeks in Cup, which has been good. So he played 40 minutes last week. I'm not sure how many minutes he played this weekend just gone for the mighty Ipswich Jets, but he did score a try and kicked a couple of goals. So I'm assuming he probably got the 80. I'm hoping, look, I mean, it's one of those things they're rolling Keanu Keeney out there week in and week out, and I don't know why. So maybe Carter Gordon gets a run over the next 2 weeks. I'd love to see it. Like, he's my tip, mate. I'd love to see him in the halves for the Titans at the start of next year. I just think AJ Brimson is wasted in the halves, as we've spoken about in the past. Mate, AJ Brimson, actually, sorry to interrupt Carter Gordon, but how about that step out of the in goal? Do you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, my bias. There was a lot of soakage when that happened. I can tell you,
absolutely.
AJ Brimson, the fullback. But I'd love to see Carter Gordon in the halves for them next year. I think a halves combo of Carter and Jaden Campbell with pick your poison of Keanu Keeney and AJ at the back. Love it. So who knows? Dez is at the helm, and we saw where Dez's mind is at the moment, like with all that post-match press conference stuff, and things are just off the rails at the Titans. So who knows on Carter Gordon's return? I don't think that's based much on injury at this point in time. I think it's just what Dez, the mad scientist, cooks up week in and week out.
Yeah, it's looking kookier by the week, isn't it, when you look at sort of the roster construction there as well. The next question I got is about Zach Lomax, Brian. There was sort of, was he in, was he out, was he in, was he out? But he looked pretty good last night from all reports. What was the story there of the mixed messages?
Yeah, mate, this is one of the ones, geez, I cop some colourful feedback for this. So to anybody who's not in the broadcast channel, effectively, I use the broadcast channel on Instagram, and actually anybody who's in the broadcast channel, because I think there's a misunderstanding of what the broadcast channel is about, again, is that it's my place for when I get told some, off the cuff stuff that isn't, I can't post about it because it's not like fully confirmed or anything like that. If I get told off the cuff stuff from solid places, then I post it in the broadcast channel. So I guess you could call it rumors or whispers, but I'm not just posting like some random guy has like DM'd me and been like, blah, blah, blah. It's, people in and around clubs and teams and these kind of things. So I got a message on like Thursday or Friday morning being like, and effectively the message said, Lomax not looking good for tomorrow night in all sorts. And that's all it said. So people have had a crack at me. Why didn't you give any context to what you're talking about? I had no freaking context. Like these people don't give up like a dictionary of information. They just will flick off, very, very short, no information messages. So I was just passing that information on to the broadcast channel, trying to help people out just in case. And people saying, once Lomax played, you were used by the club and all this kind of stuff. He was never in doubt. Well, like he didn't train at captain's run. Hayes Dunster got pulled from New South Wales Cup, and Hayes Dunster trained at captain's run because they were giving Lomax next to no chance of playing, which what I now know, apparently he was sick, very, very sick, and dealing with a minor back issue. So he was really unwell. He woke up Saturday morning feeling a lot better. So he played. So yeah, like it's not what's true and what is happening on Friday morning can change a lot by Saturday morning. But what I will say is that certainly anybody in the broadcast channel, the information that I post in there, unless I say like confirmed, definitely confirmed, if I'm just firing off stuff It's just, I'm just trying to chat with you like I chat to any group chat of your mates, right? Like that's the kind of vibe I want it to be. It's just kind of a chat back and forth of, weird information that I hear from cool places, because maybe I'm giving you access to information that you wouldn't know about otherwise. So yeah, but it's like, please just understand. 'Cause, oh
Yeah.
my God, people just,
Yeah.
I'm not paid to do this, guys. I'm just doing it for, I'm trying to help you out. That's my, I suffered for it because I had to switch, because I thought Lomax was going to be out. I had to play Jermaine Asako instead of Karapani, because I was like,
Yep.
oh, Lomax is going to be out. I've got to play Asako because he's playing first, because I think Lomax is going to be out.
Yeah.
Lomax ended up playing. So that cost me like 70 points. So it costs my own team, guys, right? But I'm just trying to help. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It does come at a consequence to yourself as well. Next question, Brian's about Herbie Farnworth. Is there any chance that he's back in the next couple of weeks, do you think?
Mate, I mean, I think round 27 would probably be the earliest, is what we've said from the start. Like, early returns from hamstring injuries are just fraught with danger, especially hamstring injuries like of the severity that Herbie suffered. So it's one of those ones where even if Herbie is back next week, like in terms of if you've held him, you're probably going to play him because he's playing the Titans and away you go. But like for anyone else, like the re-injury risk for a guy coming back early from a moderate to high grade hamstring injury, that freaks me out, man. Like as much as I want the Finns to make the finals, I also don't want Herbie to have recurring hamstring issues that then like leave him at risk, next season by the scar tissue build up and the neurological changes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, even if he's named, I'm not. And outside of a Finns fan perspective, from a SuperCoach perspective, I wouldn't be super excited about it. I know he's playing the Titans, but yeah, I just think the re-injury risk. So I think round 27 would be about bang on, but yeah, round 26, I think it'd be about a three-week return to play or something like that, which would just be crazy for an injury like that, I think. What are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty wild to see him back sooner rather than later. And really, if the Dolphins don't win this week, they're probably on that. Are they mathematically alive next week or not? I'm not sure. It'll be sort of go down to results there a little bit, won't it? But their for and against is good. So that's the one thing in their favour with the Roosters and Manly. Like they are probably sitting pretty good from that
And the
perspective.
Chooks have got Storm too. So,
They do. Minus
yeah.
Sam Walker might be trouble. Yeah. So they could be, walking the plank there, the Roosters, that's for sure. So it'd be a tricky one for them. Next question, Brian's about HIAs. Where do you see HIAs going in the next 5 years in terms of possible changes?
Yeah, I think it's just technology in terms of like making it a more objective process. So when I say objective, for anybody who isn't like, in the medical fields, subjective is like asking me, hey, how hot did you think it was out there today? Oh man, it was so hot. That's like a subjective finding. It's like Brien found this really like day really hot. Whereas objectively, it's like, okay, what was the temperature? Okay, it was 30, 35 degrees. So it gives you a finite, thing that like I could lie to you and say, no, I found it really cold today. And that's where subjective findings are really tough because you're relying on the honesty of the person who is talking to you. And that's the same with concussion. We've always said, players can lie and that kind of thing. But there's all this tech now. So I think the latest one is these mouth guards that have accelerometers and different things in there that they're trialing it. I think the Women's Rugby World Cup, that they like light up when they've copped a blow, that reaches a threshold and whatnot of, if the mouth guard lights up, got to take them off. So I think that kind of thing. There's blood tests, saliva tests, eye tests, these kind of things, which will help us diagnose concussions more accurately, which is pretty exciting. So I think that's where it'll go in the next 5. What about you, mate?
I don't think there's anything else I'd add there, Brian. I'm trying to rack my brain for other things, but I think that sort of covers all bases there, to be honest. So, I think there might just be, when it becomes more objective, then there will just be mandated stand-down periods. It'll just be like, this is just cut and dry now. Like you miss this week or you might miss 2 weeks. I don't know. It'll
Yeah,
probably go to
actually,
like,
Yeah,
that
sorry,
sort of stuff
on
as well.
that, that's a really good
Mm,
point because
mm.
friend of the show, Dr. Alan Pierce,
Oh, yep.
he had a study released during the week that definitively showed that the brain is not fully recovered even when symptoms recover for a lot of concussions. So I haven't had a chance to review the full study yet, and hopefully we can maybe get him on the show during the off season to kind of talk it through, because there was some really interesting studies. Really interesting data he had not only around like the brain not fully being recovered even after symptoms, but also being like, so the neurological signal to muscles, to joints, those kind of things were not, fully recovered either. And then he was like, that's why we're seeing, and a lot of the data is around like increased risk of musculoskeletal injury after concussion. And we see like increased risk of ACL injury after concussion and these kind of things. So I think the point he was saying, it was around like 20, I think it was between 25 to 30 days of
Jeez,
like
okay.
is how long it took for the brain to fully recover after these concussions. So whether we ever get sports at a point where they're, sitting guys down for a month after a concussion, that will be really interesting because that is such a change from where we are now. That'll be a minefield, I think.
Yeah, it'd be massive, wouldn't it? That's a really, really interesting space to keep an eye on. Next question, Brian's about, do you have any opinions on an acceptable pain threshold while you're training and rehabbing tendon injuries? So I guess there's a school of thought out there for people that for tendon remodeling, you do have to push these things into a little bit of discomfort to get the tendon to remodel via progressive loading as well. So do you have sort of like a take on an acceptable pain threshold here, Brian? It's a bit variable, isn't it? It's probably quite individual dependent.
Yeah, I think I don't want too many tendon nerd physios who no doubt listen to this podcast to shout me down for putting things too much under an umbrella. But what I will say, as a general rule, I don't mind pain in like those chronic tendon issues. Like I usually describe it to most of my patients as like a 3 to 4 out of 10 that settles quickly. So I say a 5, like a 10 out of 10's getting your arm chopped off with a chainsaw. 5 out of 10's like, oh, that's starting to be quite painful. Whereas a 3 to 4, yeah, it's a bit uncomfortable, but I'm okay. And as long as it settles quickly, you're not hanging around for hours, into the next day and it's aching, those kind of things, not swelling up. So I think it's very dependent, and you have to be really, really mindful of, the individual in front of you and kind of how they approach pain and those kind of things. But I would say as a general rule, if there's people out there, rehabbing tendon injuries, obviously speak to your medical provider, physiotherapist about it. But I wouldn't, very rarely do I get through a tendon rehab pain-free. Like I'm usually expecting some discomfort. What about you, mate? What's your approach?
Yeah, it's probably, I've never worked in the, athlete space, so I guess I'd probably be a bit more conservative in the athlete space just because of the mentality there and the time pressures. I think with the general sort of population, I suppose, more broadly, Brian, I'd probably be looking in that 4 to 6 realm, like 4 to 6, VAS score out of 10. I think that's acceptable. I think people, are pretty good in that space because they do need to crack on with this stuff and work these things hard to get tendon remodeling. That's what we know about this stuff. We know they do respond to load, and you do have to push into that discomfort. But you make a good point about the latent pain and how they go the next day. If it settles reasonably quickly within the 24 hours, then that's the green light to keep cracking on. So they're not easy though. They're a long slog, those tendon rehabs. So they're tough sledding for people that do have theirs as well. Next question's about headgear, Brian. You talk about headgear a lot. How do you feel about the Guardian caps that we see in the NFL? So they're like the headgear looking shells that people wear on top of their helmets.
Mate, the double helmet, how good.
Double helmet.
Yeah, look, like I think my approach to all of these things is like I'm optimistic, but like give me some good data on it. And I think the only data we have that's positive so far on the Guardian caps is internal data from the NFL that the NFL won't let anybody outside of the NFL have access to, which to me is just, that's like, conflictofinterest.com there. And also and in the nicest way possible to these companies, I don't want data from the companies that run I want independent data, because it's the same as headgear for me. It's like, yep, it there's some promise there, but show me that it works. Don't just tell me you think it works, and don't tell me that you're a company and your internal your internal stuff has shown that it works, or that it works in a lab. I love lab testing for a lot of things, but lab testing for concussions is just not. Show me the dollars and cents in real world application. So I'm optimistic on the Guardian cap, but I want to see data, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, don't have anything else to add there, mate. So I think you've covered all the bases there for the Guardian caps. Next question, Brian's about ACLs again. So we're talking ACL rehab versus ACL plus meniscus repair rehab. What are the key differences there in rehab approaches?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me is just more gradual approach to loading. Obviously with any kind of meniscal pathology, really. But obviously with a repair, you got non-weight bearing for a fair amount of time, more often than not. Whereas with many other ACL, cleaner ACL surgeries, you weight bearing pretty much straight away, and away we go. So you can kind of progress things a little bit quicker in terms of impact loading or just loading through the knee and those kind of things. But I think with the meniscus repair, which is where they stitch it up, I am just more gradual with my progress, because I just, as soon as you start to push them with loading, whether it be when you eventually get to running and impact and those kind of things, but also with quads and hamstrings and those kind of things, they can just be a bit more irritable. So you just got to be a bit more careful with those. So I would just say those early stages are a little bit more gradual. I don't really approach it all that much differently globally, in terms of, I do this particular, exercise that I don't do over here. Those kind of things, that kind of thing is all pretty similar, but it's just more, I guess, the rate at which I progress through those. What do you reckon, mate? Nailed it again?
Nailed it again. Yeah, protected weight bearing period slows you down with meniscal repairs. Hey, that's the challenge with them is, anytime you have limited weight bearing, you just got to work double time to get it sort of back, and it does take a little bit longer. So your time frame just blow out there a little bit more. Last question, Brian, is as a physio, what school subjects would you say are crucial to take if you're looking to end up in a career of physiotherapy?
I think the word crucial is probably doing a lot of heavy lifting there, because I don't think many are crucial. I think you need it's a prerequisite to have I think 2 sciences, might be bio and chemistry potentially. I think definitely bio. I think biology is a good one out of the sciences, and then pick your poison of chemistry and physics. I did chemistry purely because physics was on the same line as PE, and there was no way you were not getting me to do PE in high school. So that's the other one, like PE, or if you've got health education available to you. I know health education was available when I was at Nudgee for those couple of years, but I didn't have it available when I was back at Gympie at St. Pat's. But health education was a really good one. But yeah, probably the main ones for me are bio and PE. What about you, mate? You big physics guy, or?
No, not a big physics guy. I didn't cop physics because I think physics was on PE as well, I think from memory. So that's where I was mucking around in. I think the other one would be with your math subjects, there is a fair bit of, data related things as you look at the scientific rigor of stuff, unfortunately. So you do have to get nerdy and get your head into some journal articles and some RCTs and things like that. And you do need to have a bit of an understanding of, basic statistical analysis and stuff like that. And that does marry up to math. So you do have to, you're going to have to do maths regardless, but you probably want to look at the, at least the more extension side of things in maths, if you can handle them, if you can get your head around some numbers.
Yeah, mate, it's a part of the job. But yeah, get me away from numbers as much as possible and just out there doing things. Mate, SuperCoach Corner. I'm happy to talk about SuperCoach this week because I've earned the 200 points back that I lost to you last week. I've made it back this week thanks to one man who I'll get soaked about talking about very, very shortly. But before I talk about that beautiful man, look, got to shout out the guys at Baller. SuperCoach head-to-head finals are here. And not only finals, but grand finals. If you want to sharpen up and make the right call when it counts, trades, captains, your 17th man, you'll need the right tools. And Baller has all the projections, base plus power stats, captaincy, and ownership data, everything you need for SuperCoach strategy. And it's all free, which is so sick. So just sign up at baller.live. That's BALLR.live and get access to every tool you need to finish the season strong. James, it's I like, seriously, I say it every week, but I legitimately mean it. I'm so stoked to like partner up with these guys because it's one of those things I genuinely use their products so often now. It is like part of my most used I guess apps on my phone. Even I don't think they have an app yet, but I've like added it to my home screen via Safari. I just click on that all day, every day. I do it even to check scores and stuff like that. It's so good. So, shout out the Baller Boys because they're doing good stuff.
They are doing good stuff, Brian. This is probably the first week I haven't hit a home run with the old captaincy option, which we'll get to in just a jiffy. But yeah, even going from projections far out, they nailed every single other one except the one that I chose this week. So, it was just bad selecting from yours truly. On that point, Brian, I went 12.46 this week. So I VC Brian To'o because I didn't really have any other options. I had to get him done early, which I was like, I don't feel great about it, but if he can just jag a trial too, maybe I'll get lucky. And then I captained Tedesco. So that tells the story of my week, how it played out. I guess with no Harry Grant, I've got to roll Corey Pakes for the final 2 weeks of the year. So that doesn't feel great. But anyway, we'll go with it. And burning all the trades before a late season Reece Walsh sort of throb fest is sort of eating me up a little bit inside. So it's really sad that he's just going absolutely troppo this week. He was even, giving away a try this week to Kobe Hetherington. I mean, I was petrified that Kobe was going to drop that ball. I was like, I nearly had a heart attack when I saw that happening in the inning goal there. Kobe not known for his good hands. And I think the other thing I want to mention very quickly, Brian, is good on everyone for getting on Taylor May after we pumped him up here last week, because that was one of the ones we put up in lights, and he went out and ripped and teared again. So I think Taylor will be a popular trade in this week. He'll probably be in the low to mid 500s after this week just gone. So the only other one I want to put up in lights at the centre wing spot is going with the mega vibes with the Canberra Raiders up the milk, and Matty Timoko is the one up in lights, 6% owned. He's just had a really strong end of season. He's going to be 750 grand, but he gets the West Tigers and the Dolphins to finish the season. So I think you could go worse than get a little Matt Timoko play into your side, but you do have to shell up and pay for it. The other one I was going to say is Beau Fermor, Brian. When you do the numbers on Beau Fermor, this absolutely shocked me. This is through the Baller.live app as well, or the Baller.live website. Second highest base and power of all centre wings behind Jacob Carraz. How underrated is that from Beau Fermor? I just looked at that about 10 times and was like, how is he not into the discussion about being an absolute jet centre wing? And he's dual as well. So, I think he's one that you should look at as well. He's a bit higher owned from that point of view, but the shoulder is a bit of a ticking time bomb scenario there, Brian, like we mentioned earlier today. So that's just one to keep an eye on. But man, Beau Fermor flies under the radar pretty consistently. He's had a really good year for the Titans there in an otherwise lost season.
Mate, love the call. I do have to apologise. I remember there was one commenter on the YouTube video last week saying I led him down a garden path with Taylor May and said, don't jump on him when he was wanting to. I don't know when I said that, but my apologies if I have, because my goodness me, he has gone on a generational
Wouldn't have been
run.
me, Brian. I was pumping him up last week. I mean,
I'm like, I can't even remember.
Let's say probably not the best bloke. That's probably not a hot take, but SuperCoach points are SuperCoach points.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, I maybe that's what I said. Maybe we brought it
Yeah.
up a few weeks ago, and I kind of said, "Oh, the vibes aren't great." So that sounds like something I would say, but I can't remember it. But I do apologize if I was the reason. I shouldn't be the reason, but if I was, I do apologize because he's just been insane, mate. I got 1452. Tommy Trbojevic, mate, he's back. He's back, and everyone's carrying on. If he's in the CTW next year, if he's got dual, he'll be 100% owned. Mate, he should be 100% owned if he's in the fullback spot next year. I'm slipping. I'm serpent. I'm all over the Kool-Aid, the Tommy Turbo Kool-Aid against my own team, but it just made it made the loss not as bad to see. He wasn't old Tommy Turbo because he still wasn't quite at his best, but Tommy Turbo won What did he score? 160 or 170 or something like that.
Yeah,
Just
he'll update
fantastic.
to mid-170s, I
Yeah,
reckon. It's a big old
fantastic
score.
stuff. That's
Just a
just
big old score.
so good. So yeah, shout out Tommy Turbs because he has. I've just got to give him his. What did we get here? I've got to see what he scored, so I give him the full credit. It might even be more than that. 180 point, James. 180 points. Fantastic. So mate, the thing that surprised me, and it happens every year, and I'm happy to fall. Using all my trades has never cost me, and it still isn't costing me to this day. Like I've used them all, and I'm still fine. I got 20 players who are very playable week in and week out, still just rolling around with guys falling down all over the place. Somehow I've just been able to, get through on the skin of my teeth. I'm doing it. So like 1452. Some of the scores out there are ridiculous.
Big
Like
scores this week, mate. It's a
1700s,
big range
mate.
this week. Yeah.
1700s I've seen. Shout out Ben the sponge on Twitter. He put up he had a 1700, which is just like that. And not only did he have a 1700, he nuffed at hooker with like his last trade. He went so he's rolling dual nuffs at hooker. He's taken an AE every week and he scored 1700. So that's the kind of stuff I like. Like burn your last trade and nuff yourself at hooker and then just roll through. So good to see and a really good fella. So trading wise, mate, I think the 3 teams to attack, which is not being, super hot takey, but just for people listening, Finns, Knights, or Dragons. Like the Dragons are just massively hit with that injury bug at the moment. They do not have many guys coming back either, from what I can understand, and whether they even bring them back, even if they're available to. So I think they're the ones to target. So that gives you Seagulls, Titans, or Sharks next week, and then Raiders, Panthers, or Eels the week after. I think the Titans, like they've got Finns and then the Tigers, so 2 pretty defensively not hot teams. And then the Seagulls, mate, they've got the Dragons and the Wars, and the Wars is at Brookie. So yeah, mate, load up on your Tommy Turbo. Lehigh, I could absolutely see Lehigh, like Chase last week, points, whatever, like bring him in because they've got 2 pretty good matchups over the next couple of weeks. Who you got from the Titans? Maybe a Phil Salmi, AJ Brimson, these kind of guys, because Brimo's not doing too bad. But I think the Seagulls are the play. Like just start to load up on those. Tolu Kola, not a bad shout either. And then like your Raiders in that final week, I think are a good shout, because actually, will they be able to rest? I don't think
They will.
They will.
They'll sewn up a top 2 spot. So I think as it stands, I would keep an eye on the Storm and the Raiders resting people for sure,
right.
because
Okay.
the Storm are 2 wins clear of the Bulldogs, and they've got way better points differential. So
Yeah.
I think you could see, at least one game, some guys getting rested from the Raiders and the Storm, either this week
Yeah.
or the following week would
Just
be my
depends
call.
how much the Raiders want value that minor premiership. That'd be the most interesting thing, because then if the Storm win and leap them, I would give it 0%. Value for me, because like who cares who remains?
The only thing is, if you do get first, you probably get the Warriors or the Broncos round 1,
true.
which is a cake matchup.
You
Otherwise,
definitely
you're playing the Bulldogs in the middle there, probably, because the Bulldogs are running 3rd. They're probably going to run 3rd, and then you get the Warriors 4th. I would be praying that I finish top of the table, get the Warriors away from home. Obviously, you're at home, Warriors away from home, and then if you win, you get the week off, and then you get the home semi again. So I think it's pretty attractive to finish first, but I think the Storm would be comfortable doing it from second if they cop the Bulldogs. I think they'd probably back themselves in that sort of a matchup, especially with a home game. So, they just really need to get some guys healthy, the Storm, don't they? They really need to just get some guys through to the finals healthy, because they're already, Jerome Hughes is going to be touch and go, and he may not be at his best. So, Harry Grant's going to be suspended for a couple of weeks, so he's going to rest up. You don't want to burn out Munster or, Katoa or Xavier Coates and that sort of stuff in the next few weeks. So the Storm have the Roosters, and then who they have in the following week there? Sorry, I
Bronx.
can't look. Yeah,
Bronx.
okay. So the Bronx will need to win, so that'll be a game they'll contest. But the Storm may rest. They might just go, you know what, all good. We'll just rest these boys up. And then the Raiders have the West Tigers, and who do they have in the final round? I think they've got a cake matchup as well. So if they get
The
they've
Dolphins.
got okay. So the thing is, if they beat the West Tigers, then they probably seal it up anyway, regardless of what happens with the Finns. So you might be looking at a Raiders round 27 resting potentially as well. But I think those two are the teams most likely to rest if there are
Yep.
teams.
Yeah, definitely. I like it. But yeah, I'm all in on the Seagulls. Tommy Turbo will more than likely be getting my captain's armband next week, I think. Just ride him into the ground. He'll probably
Well,
do a
Brien,
hammy next week, but
yeah, I think I traded him how many times this year? I started with him, traded him in, and I think no, I didn't trade him in again. I think I traded him twice, and I don't get to enjoy this. It sucks. Because it's
Oh,
the
man.
golden rule Supercoach, isn't it? If he's playing fullback, he's in your team. But I
It's
couldn't
just
do it
been
again.
it's so
Couldn't
it
do it
was
again.
so sweet. It was just so sweet. And look, to be fair, I know we could go back and clip up me being like, this season's just a write off. Like, don't do it to yourself again. But this is showing you that vibes are overtake all, James. Throw logic out the window when you're not going to win the 50 grand and just go with vibes. Because it just makes it so much more fun, doesn't it? Like, as you said, like the Reece Walsh, like imagine if you jumped on Reece Walsh, like how much, the vibes would just be through the roof. So go vibes, guys. If we teach you one thing on this show, vibes picks. Look at the rig. Do rig-based selections.
That's right. Always been rig-based selection proponents here, that's for sure. Always and forever.
I love it. All right, guys, that is the show for this week. If you like the pod, give us a review, recommend to a friend. We'll keep running weekly pods until the finals, and we'll try and get as many in during the finals as we can. I think we usually do 2 or 3 over that time, so we'll see how we go. But yeah, otherwise, you're all here to hear up the mighty Redcliffe Dolphins.